Hey, what's up guys? How's it going? So you're wanting to know how to level up fast in this game, okay? Now, as you might imagine, alright, Legend of Mushroom is an idle RPG, so the idea behind this game is basically the longer you let it run on your phone, the faster you're going to level. Now, as you might imagine, okay, most if not all of your experience is going to be acquired from lamps. And the problem that people often find themselves in, how do I acquire more and more lamps? And the only way you can do that is by going through stages. You can acquire them obviously not just in stages though, but you can go to places like, for example, you can go into parking wars, go to your mounts, and if you pay attention, certain mounts will drop certain magic lamps. Okay, that's one source of lamps that you'll acquire. Another place that you can go, actually, of all places, it sounds stupid, but the dormitory is another place that you can go to. And from here, you can actually acquire retainers. And these retainers can then turn around and give you more and more loot. So again, it's a huge thing you more than likely will need to do. Another place that you can acquire lamps, and really just in general, if you're trying to, get any amount of experience, obviously this is all for AFK rewards, but you'll notice that ads are a big portion of this, okay? If you watch ads, you're going to obviously get more lamps, and more lamps, more tries, more attempts. Obviously, if you go through Assault Lamp Thief and you do the sweeps, the one thing I recommend is that you consistently always continuously work on your build. I'll get into what a like a Berserker PvP build is, a PvP build for the Plume Monarch or the Arrow Archer. So basically, I'll go Warrior, Archer, and Mage for you and kind of give you an idea of a whole synopsis of all three in this video, but we're going to strictly focus on just trying to level up fast, right? Of course, the other place you can acquire lamps from is obviously doing your arena here. You'll get at least 10 if you attempt. Obviously, some players, even though their power ranking is higher, not all of them are going to immediately win. It's actually not always the case. Like here you can see, like I got 10 just for that fight. And occasionally you're not going to know every single time whether you're going to win or lose. Like this one, I know just from a given, it's going to be an automatic lose. But you'll notice they still get 10 lamps regardless. So you always want to use your challenge tickets. It's not really going to ding you, so to speak, to not use your challenge tickets. So you get 6 pretty much every day. And this game is kind of a game of repetition, basically. You've got to be consistently active and consistently playing in order to really find yourself getting the best amount of loot. Obviously, if you do cross-server ranked matches, this is really kind of a necessity for a whole different reason, because you're getting 20 lamps here, plus what you get in the shop, you will actually want to acquire awakening crystals. I do not recommend spending your magic lamps on, or rather the tokens on the magic lamps. I would rather see you buy your awakening crystals until you awaken, and then buy the red soul selection 2. This is one of the only places you can actually get selection 2 souls, which are your crit damage, skill damage, pal damage, and so on souls, and you need those in order to make pink souls. Okay, outside of that, right now, assuming that you've done all of that, there are a couple of other places you can go. If you join an alliance or a guild, right, you can get some from Blazing Cave, and from here you'll acquire some. Of course, you can also get some from Grumpy Big Head from time to time, and you'll also acquire some from the Family Brawl. And in here, you'll actually get an opportunity to, every once in a while, you can actually use what you gain in here for certain skills and such. Like if you're looking for, Red Soul Selection 2, Worldly Snare, certain skills, that's mainly what you'll use it for there. But in terms of what, the family shop has to offer, the main thing here is you can actually buy extra keys. So for 2,500, you can get another gold key, which you can then use to basically run the dungeon for Assault Lamp again. As far as, and this is all free to play, right? Now, if you're wanting to go a little further into this and you want to go pay to win, make sure you watch the end of the video, because I'll have a 5% discount you can use with Aptoid if you want to leverage basically saving some of your money while you're playing the game. But the pandering aside, the one thing that I will say is that if you are trying to level quickly, okay, well, obviously you'll want to go into the spins and run your spins, because every once in a while you'll hit 50 lamps. And other times you'll get a key, other times you'll get, some extras. You really never know what you're going to get. The main thing here is that by doing that, you're also going to work on doing You know, so like during Pal Rush or Soul Rush or Relic Rush, the idea is always to save a lot of what you gain and earn, because what you can do then is you can basically turn around and use that to get more and more lamps, which is obviously going to give you that much more experience, and it's going to ultimately help you grow in the game faster. I will say that if you're wanting to pay to win, right, the pay to win method here is you can buy the level fund and the magic lamp fund. The magic lamp fund is by far the largest amount of lamps, and therefore the quickest way to get to at the end game as fast as possible. You can also grab the level fund if you want all the gems as well. But the biggest thing here is that like the Shroomy Battle Pass is going to give you a lot of keys and a lot of dungeon keys, and this is just in general like something you can buy every once in a while. So for about 15 bucks to well hell, in this case it's even not even 15, it's 11 bucks. But I'll drift into that. So you've got skip all ads. That's worth it, and it's gold, I think, in my opinion. You also have monthly card for 30-day privilege, and you can get some extras in there. There's lifetime pass, obviously you get some in there. Joyful farming, mining license. If you're aiming for these, it's mainly just for the other loots. And then, of course, there's trial card, which is 15 on its own. That said, as far as leveling up very quickly in Legend of Mushroom is concerned here, those are pretty much all of the places you can spend and get ahead. I mean, beyond that, you can also do cross-server showdown over the weekend. And from here, you can actually spend some of these extra coins on the magic lamps, and you can get about, an extra 2,000 or so of these from time to time. Plus, you can also acquire keys here. So, it's all stuff that, again, there's other 3 skills here that you can get. But unfortunately, you can't get a Red Soul Selection 2 in here, which is kind of unfortunate, but one can dream, right? Outside of that, obviously, events are a huge entry point for any amount of lamps that you get. There's a stupid amount of lamps and exclusives that come during the events, and you're never really going to know exactly which one you have to offer. Now, to pander more into the build side of this, right? Every build is going to be dependent on really kind of what class you're fighting for. Like, if you go down the crossbow slash what I'd call the Arrow God method, aka Plume Monarch, right? Plume Monarch is basically crit damage, and then it's a stupid amount of crit rate with combo. They love to go basically ham on combo damage. And the way that they do this is basically when you go into Prayer Statue, they set all of their damage to global combo damage, because that's going to buff your freaking combo damage like crazy. Okay? And then in their gear, they're working on both crit rate and combo. So the ideal piece of Aurus gear in the game is crit rate and combo for somebody that is playing as a Plume Monarch, right? Now, you could alternatively do this in different ways. Like, you could go counter. You could also, you could potentially play with this, right? It doesn't have to be done that way. I'm just saying that this is ultimately what a lot of people are doing. In the case of, Martial Sage, for example, right? The main thing here is that he gets counter damage, but he's really good on damage resistance. And for that reason, Draconic Resonance, which is a skill you can acquire during the, I think it's a cross server, but it was one of the dragon skill. You'll know what I mean when you see it. That's what Martial Sage is good for. Warbringer is super great in PvP because it's a counter-based player, so basically he counters every hit he gets. And again, these players are real tanky, but they counter every hit they get. Where, in the case of the Plume Monarch, it's a little bit more spongy. Now, of course, you can reset at any time. It's just going to cost you 4,000 or so gems to do it. And then every time you do that, you then got to go reset and redo. And, obviously, if your gear is not spec'd out, you got to redo it and blah, 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 right? For a handful of players that probably found me, you probably also picked up on the fact that, in the evolution preview, right? You've also got Sacred Hunter. That guy's really more heavy on crit damage on his own. So in a way, for me, I feel like the more true combo crit player is going to be somebody that's actually running Sacred Hunter. But Arrow God is interesting in that basically Plume Monarch is giving you this additional enemy evasion for 10 seconds that you'll ignore. Increased combo damage within 60%. You get 140% combo damage. It's like you're just going to be a stupidly good basic attack and combo player. That's part of the reason why I'm not so big into using crit damage in this build because it's more intended for the Sacred Hunter from the way I've read it. You look at it, it's like, well, okay, sure, you can do it, but you can prevent targets from regenerating energy for their 6 active skills for 4 seconds with the Sacred Hunter, and you get bonuses for crits. So it's like, it makes more sense to be a Sacred Hunter crit combo than it is a crit combo for the Plume Monarch, but I point this out because it's just information to know. That said, right, the Prophet, you're running more, in the same way that I was kind of like making that comparison between Sacred Hunter and Plume Monarch, the same thing happens with Prophet and Dark Lord. In the case of Dark Lord, you're basically wanting a lot of skill crit, and you want skill crit because you need that to proc your abilities, and then you need a lot of crit damage with the skill crit. So you need a lot of skill crit damage in order to be able to be a really good Dark Lord player. In the case of, say like the Prophet, the issue with the Prophet is that he's really going to be super overpowered when he has a lot of stuns. And so a lot of stun builds love this guy, right? And he's also got, a little bit more time on his active skills. He's got faster, skill regen. But part of the reason why this guy doesn't feel as good is partly because it's just not as what I would describe as like, he doesn't proc off as fast on the combos. He's waiting on those skill crits in order to be really of any value. That is not to say that I didn't try this out a little bit when I was doing a Holy Guide build, because you can replace combo a little bit and sacrifice some of that skill crit and still turn out to be a fairly decent Prophet player, but you don't have the actual bonuses that you need that you would normally get in a Plume Monarch build for it to be viable. So you end up being more of a combo, like a counter combo or some variation of the two. And so that's all that aside, right? That is part of the reason why people look at the classes and what they're looking for. Now, if you want to really learn more into this and you want to learn like, oh, okay, well, what does this attribute do? Why do I want this piece of gear, or why do I do this, and so on and so on. Tap on the bottom right here, okay? You can make sets. Make a PvP set and a PvE set. Make one set that you're going to use that is a little bit more intended for player versus player combat, for your skills and such, and even for your pals, and even your relics. You want to focus on trying to get, just something dedicated for just PvP, and then another set dedicated just for PvE. If you don't know what is good for PvE and PvP, the main difference really starts, like, for example, at the Flame Book, where, it's like, okay, one's going to give you boss damage, the other's going to give you damage at PvP. These are things that you'll nitpick and tweak depending on if you're fighting other players or if you're fighting against, the bosses. That said, something else that you really should consider is you want to pay very close attention to your enchants, because enchants here will affect everything from basic attack damage to HP and core attack stats. Plus, you can even get combination bonuses that'll give you a little bit more global damage in different places. These are all things that are really helpful to know. Of course, in terms of artifacts, mounts, if you're wondering like, okay, how do I acquire clock winders, for example? Obviously, your clock winders are going to be acquired from the Chrono Tower, but most people will probably either do those during Mount Rush. Again, the general rule of thumb in this game is to save literally everything and wait until a rush has occurred for it. So like right now, it's a good time to spend a bunch for Soul Rush and a bunch for Pal Rush. But any other thing that you have, for example, like if you've got a lot of Relic, don't waste it. Just save it. Wait until Relic Rush, then burn it. The same goes for like skills and so on and so on. It's all event-based in this game. If you want to level quickly, you need to be doing that. Part of the reason why you do this, though, is because basically by doing that, you're going to acquire extra loot, like more relic shards. And for like people that are wondering, how do I get the divine hammers? This is where you get your divine hammers, okay? Oftentimes you're going to find that you're going to get them in rushes, okay? The other thing is in the rush shop, as you acquire and rank and medal, which is what you're aiming to do here, you can then get exclusive mounts, and you can get some of the best OP mounts in the game, like, Cloud Drifter being one, or Adaptive Slime. That's where a lot of those players are going to grab them from. Another thing that you should know is that the Lucky Spinner event, whenever it shows up, make sure that you save your Lucky Spinner coins. You don't want to waste them all. Wait until the next rotation, like 3 or 4 times, and then spend them. And you'll actually get yourself a free mount that way. So you can thank me later. That said, that is really about all you really need to know to level up very quickly in this game. I will say that if you're wanting to build up on any kind of mantra of thought, the one thing I will say that I don't agree with a lot of people on is that I honestly think you need to go for the highest quality of gear first. Don't care about what the heck you get for stats. Just go for the quality of gear. Then once you've got a set of Aurus gear, then you need to start filtering and saying, hey, okay, I just want combo, or I just want crit rate, or I just want this one stat for this build. And again, going back on, this all goes back to class, okay? Is what exactly do I need in my class to make my class viable? Martial Sage, it's damage resistance. Warbringer, it's counter damage, or counter, or just in general popping counter. Sacred Hunter and Plume, or it's both crit rate for Sacred Hunter more so, and Plume Monarch, it's more combo rate. Prophet is kind of an interesting one because they want stun, and Dark Lord wants skill crit. And so they play off of each other in a way, right? But again, this is just something that, in general, if you're wanting to learn how to play this game effectively and even grow faster than a lot of the other players around you, then you need to kind of understand that you can also go up to here, okay, bottom right where the, the gear plans icon was. This will show you what your attributes are and where you are in the game. And one of the things that you'll find is there's a little eye up here at the top right. And if you tap that, it'll actually tell you what the attributes are and what they do. That is super helpful for a lot of people, but yet a lot of people just kind of gloss over it and don't even know it's there. So now you know. Outside of that, that should help you out in Legend of Mushroom. Hopefully it helped you out. And of course, watch this video if you want to save money along the way, because again, it is 5% that you're going to get back on your packs in the game. So make sure to check that out, and I'll see you guys next time.